You ever have this moment when you're just sitting there, maybe at a dinner table, maybe on the couch, wherever it is, at a location, maybe in silence, and you feel it in your bones that this isn't for you anymore? It doesn't mean you hate the person or you don't have to be angry. Sometimes you might be angry, but you feel like something in you has shifted. So today we're talking about exactly that moment, why it matters, what's changed, what it means, and how to move through it by respecting yourself, respecting your boundaries, and finally growing out of the things, places, relationships, friendships that no longer belong to you. And I don't want you to feel shame, guilt, or anything like that. It's totally normal for you to experience this. And watch this video, make sure to subscribe, make sure to like. I'm gonna get you out of this. We're gonna move through this together. So number one is gonna be something that I literally had to remind myself every single day as I was growing out of all these friendships, relationships. Mainly, I had to grow out of this big bestest of best friendship that I had. Yeah, I had to grow out of it, and it was very painful, but literally I think it took me 6 years to finally come to terms with the fact that, oh, this friendship has ended and it's okay. I don't have to carry everyone with me. I don't need that baggage with me. So I want to tell you that outgrowing someone or something doesn't mean that you are ungrateful. You can literally love someone, respect someone, appreciate all the history you have. And this can also be like location. You might be realizing, oh, I don't belong here anymore. I actually want to move, right? We're not just talking about friendships and relationships. But you can feel all of those feelings and still outgrow the places, people, relationships, and friendships. It's definitely okay to realize that you have changed. You have outgrown this thing that you were attached to so much, and it doesn't belong to you anymore. And it was a part of your past, and that's totally okay. We are meant to grow. We are meant to grow out of things, out of places, out of relationships. Like I always tell you guys, I literally outgrew this apartment so many years ago, yet I'm still stuck here. So make sure to subscribe, get me out of here, please. And I wrote down a quote for this main point that I want to read to you. Some people are meant to be chapters, not the whole book. Have you read A Court of Thorns and Roses? If you read that book, you know that the entire book one is about this one guy that she's like super obsessed with, and we're obsessed with. We're like, oh my god, the happy ending, like this is the guy. And then book two, I think we start to realize, oh, this is not the relationship. And then finally she finds the one, right? She grew out of the previous relationship, and it's totally okay. We're not stuck with the previous one. She's not stuck with the previous one. We also read the entire thing of her trying to get out of the relationship while in the relationship, and she's like slowly detaching. I don't know, it's really interesting to read that book. Like there is so much in that book that people are not talking about. People are just talking about the sexy scenes. Like, hello. Can we talk about how she outgrew that relationship, how she realized that this was toxic, even though like she loved him so much, she slowly detached, and that was just so powerful. And then another main point that I want to talk about is the signs are quiet at first. Very quiet. Very, very quiet. So it's not always like big drama or fights or anything. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be toxic for you to let go of something. I also want to say that because sometimes it's just like, oh, I am growing and this friend that I have is not growing, and they are in fact like taking me down. We can actually see it in the spiritual community, right? Finally, you start listening to affirmations, you start meditating, you start to cultivate this abundance mindset, but everybody around you is still in the past, in scarcity mindset, and you're just like, oh my god, every time I meet these people, I'm back into the lack mindset. So you might be realizing that the conversations you're having with friends or in relationships, they're not hitting you anymore. They're so repetitive, and that can be the case. I have a friend, I used to have a friend who always talked about boys. And I was like, oh my God, girl, like, you need to stop. Like, I'm sorry, in this day and age, we have outgrown that. And I used to be so sad for her because that used to be me in high school. And finally, I grew out of it. And I'm seeing her the same age as me. I think she's like older than me. And I'm like, oh my God, please get out of this cycle. You're so much more worthy than that. But I realized, like, I had this little savior complex and I was like trying to help her. But then I realized, oh my God, I cannot help her. She needs to help herself. And realizing that has changed my entire perspective. Now I have boundaries in place for that friend. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just waiting for you to grow out of that. And then we can literally talk about anything else. Because when we talk about anything else, it's just so exciting. Her opinions are so interesting to listen. But why do you choose to talk about boys? I hope she's not watching this. I love you, girl. I still love you. I just want you to grow out of that. Please. Your, like, boys don't define your worth. And I know you know that, but I don't think your body knows that. I don't think your subconscious mind knows that. Like, remind yourself, please. Listen to affirmations, something. So you might be realizing that you're not excited to share the news anymore with that person. You're not excited to talk things out. You're not excited to hear their opinions. You know that they are maybe, I don't know, not growing fast enough. They are too stuck in their own minds. They're complaining too much, like always complaining and putting you down as well. These are just quiet signs at first, and you need to focus on them. For this next part, my mic cut off, so I apologize, but the camera mic is still okay. So you might not be feeling like sharing the news with them, or like what you're thinking. You don't want to share that anymore. Or maybe you're noticing that you're walking on eggshells around them and you're avoiding certain topics because it triggers them or something. I know the feeling. Oh my God, stay away. And this used to be someone you used to laugh around with and joke around with and like have so much fun. So I totally get this shift and I know how hard it is. Trust me. But you can't keep doing this. You cannot. And sometimes when we realize that we've outgrown relationships, we feel like we have failed. Especially in relationships, if we've been with someone for a while and we think this is the end, we're like, oh great. And we feel so alone. We feel like it's just us who's struggling. It's just us who's gonna be single, or it's just us who couldn't find a one. So I totally get you on that. And it's not a failure. You didn't fail. It's literally like this entire enlightenment is a feedback from your soul. And if you don't act in alignment with your soul, you're gonna be stuck in a place where you're not happy. And this takes me to the next main point that I wrote down, which is what you do next is gonna be your upgrade. So what you do next is either gonna take you to your upgrade or to your downfall. And the upgrade isn't even about like breaking up or like not talking anymore or like blocking them or whatever. It's not even about that. I mean, if they're very toxic, go ahead and do that. But the upgrade is all about how you approach this from like the bottom of your heart, from your soul. So it's about how you respond to this discomfort. Do you shrink and stay small, or stay as if you're still your past self and you don't grow just to maintain the peace or maintain this relationships? Are you gonna self-sacrifice now? Or are you gonna act in accordance with your feelings and with your realization? When you realize this, even if you're like living together with roommates and you're realizing, oh, they are not my people anymore, I have outgrown these people, or you're living with a partner, you have kids and you're realizing, yeah, this is not it. And like, you can't just exit right away. If you can't just exit right away, like, I get it. I totally get it. You can't. So what are you gonna do now? What are the steps you are taking? This might be like detaching slowly. And slowly it's gonna start shifting the dynamics. And if you're in a toxic relationship, girl, get out. Get out fast. Because if you start detaching and they notice, it's gonna be very dangerous. So get out of there, be safe, call for help. Like, I'm not talking about those types of relationships. I'm talking about non-toxic at this point. If you're in a toxic relationship and if you're in danger. Please take care of yourself first. You're like, if it's getting any physical, or if he's like punching things, get out. Get out, because he's punching things to show you how he wants to punch you. Someone said that the other day on TikTok, and yes, exactly. I know it from my father. Don't do that. But if we're talking about outgrowing like peaceful, nice friendships and relationships, it's even harder, not gonna lie, because there's no excuse at that point. It's like, what? We're doing fine. Why are you gonna break up, or why are you leaving, or why are you gonna not talk to me anymore, or why are you putting up these boundaries where you were my best friend but now you're just a friend? What's going on, right? So you have to slowly start detaching from your inner self, and it's gonna be very painful. Let me tell you that. You're gonna cry alone all the time. You're gonna like go through it, and you have to. I'm sure somewhere in life you might remember a relationship or a friendship where when you realized you are done with it, you start crying before even physically breaking up or physically saying goodbye. This happened to me in college, actually, with my 2-year boyfriend. I literally started breaking up with him like 1 year in my head before I actually did it. So this upgrade, this mindset change is also gonna make you think of your habits. Like, what is keeping you stuck? I remember listening to this person who lost a lot of weight, and her roommates were basically making fun of her trying to go to the gym, making fun of her like measuring her food, everything that she did. And she had to live in that state for months before she actually got out. It's because economy, right? Sometimes we can't just get out financially. We're not stable enough. So yeah, listening to her going through all of that did a lot of perspective shift in me. Like, you can build a new habit. You can be the new version of yourself, even if you're stuck in your past. Trust me, the way universe works is it first tries to understand if you are aware that you have outgrown your past self, and then you have to act like your new self even though the outside world hasn't caught up yet. It's gonna happen. Like, I know. Upgrade isn't about breakup or goodbye or like moving out. You're gonna get to that. You're gonna do all of that. The update is gonna be in your mind when you realize all these changes, because it's not about the people around you or the location around you that you have outgrown. It's about yourself. It's about your own self-growth journey and where you were and where you are now. The difference between the two, realizing that is really going to shift your perspective. You might focus on building better habits. You might focus on finally getting out of your comfort zone and doing the things that you were promising yourself, because maybe the location that you have outgrown, or the people around you, whatever you've outgrown, maybe those were actually holding you back mentally. Like, don't go around blaming other people. Obviously they weren't like holding you back like physically, unless you're in a toxic relationship. If so, please get out, and make sure to create yourself a safe emotional space, because a lot of emotions are gonna come out, and you need to make sure that you process them properly. You cannot keep putting them down, pushing them down. You have to let it flow. So if you've outgrown a relationship, friendship, or a location, know that that's actually a great sign. That means you're growing. You're not like staying in the same spot that you used to be in. So I really want you to let go so that you can rise to your potential. I know it takes courage. I know it takes a lot out of you to realize that you have changed. And it takes a lot more to actually act on it. But these happen in life all the time. You're not alone. There are so many people who outgrow a lot of people. There are people who went no contact with their parents because they were being extremely toxic. And I'm not even talking about just toxic, healthy things too. You might have outgrown something healthy, like your best friend or whatever. But I promise you, choosing yourself is not selfish. When you start to do that consistently, that's when life starts to match your energy. It's like magic. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. You were listening to Upgrade by Seda. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure to download the episode, follow, turn on notification, and do all that good stuff. You can also rate. Rating and downloading really helps. So if this helps you, make sure to do that. Thank you so much. See you next time.